you know?
I don't know.
Okay, so right now we have two main roads that are open. We have the Bear Lake Road, which is open year-round, unless there's a horrific storm and it's for safety reasons, but generally it's open all year. And then also Trail Ridge Road. And Trail Ridge Road is kind of one of the highlights for folks coming to Rocky Mountain National Park during the summer season. It's the highest continuous paved highway in North America. So very, very nice, and as a result, that creates a whole host of challenges. The elevation up there is about 3,700 meters, a little more than that. You guys do meters, right? Yep. Okay. So that can be challenging for folks for a variety of reasons planning a trip here. One is simply the weather. So I know that Rachel was telling me you had to change clothes, right? Because when you leave Fort Collins or Denver or wherever many visitors are coming from, feel free to get warm if you want. One of the challenges is simply that you've got this elevational increase that people don't anticipate. And so they're not dressed for the higher elevations because it was 70 or 90 degrees down in Denver, and it could be 30 degrees and snowing up on Trail Ridge Road all in the same day in the middle of July, quite literally. And then when journeys up Trail Ridge Road, it's kind of like taking a journey from Colorado to the Arctic Circle in kind of a compressed passage through different life zones. And so again, we wind up having a lot of snow, which affects a lot of people. And also we have elevation. So an important thing to communicate to any potential visitors in Canada, especially if they're coming from the sea level area, is you are gaining several thousand feet. So if you fly into Denver, get a rental car, and boom, hit straight up to Trail Ridge Road. If someone has a pre-existing medical condition, they're kind of setting themselves up here, because we do get a fair number of people that have serious conditions or heart conditions or whatever that get kind of exaggerated by that sudden altitude gain. So it's something to advise visitors in, is to maybe do Trail Ridge Road your second day here or your third day, so you can get acclimatized.
What's a good amount of time to get acclimatized?
Well, you know, in a perfect world, it's 3 weeks, but of course we don't have 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But even if one could overnight, one night in Denver, one night in Estes Park, and then go up, rather than flying in, say, from Vancouver and getting that rental car and then just driving straight up. So you basically come from sea level to 12,000 feet. It's just way, way too much. So I want to definitely give you that warning. Another thing to advise our visitors as they come here is that we're a crowded place. You've already gotten a taste of that with the traffic. So generally, last year we hit the third most visited national park system visit, okay? So that includes historic sites as well as seashores as well as national parks. And that was 4.5 million visitors last year. We could approach 5 million this year. So we are a very popular place because we're very beautiful. But what that means, to translate that to visitors that are gonna come here, is we like to say start early or come late. And when I say early, I mean really early. Because if you're not at the trailheads, particularly by Bear Lake, which is a popular area for trailheads, you may not get a parking spot after 8 in the morning. If you want some of the other parking spots, you need to be there at 6 or 6:30 in the morning. I'm not joking. So really being an early riser is a great thing, or coming later in the day. Although the challenge with the later in the day is, you see, we have these thunderstorms, which are very typical during the summer months. And of course, lightning can be a threat to our visitors too. So we don't like them carrying umbrellas around here because they attract lightning, especially above tree line on Trail Ridge Road. So planning early and planning around the season, making sure folks have reservations, is really vital to having a quality experience here. It's the folks that show up at 10 o'clock or at noon and they expect to get a parking spot. They are not going to get one. They're going to wait a long line to get into the park. In fact, the line today did got below this visitor center. You'll soon see where that's at. And then of course they wait a long line to get everywhere and find parking, and then it's frustrating. And we don't come here to get frustrated, right? We come here to have a wonderful experience in the beauty of nature.
What time does the park close?
So the park is open all year and all day and night, but here's how that works. So the visitor centers will close, so we won't be here to, you know, say hello to you and give you a map and all of those things. But if you want to come watch the stars, we highly recommend you do so. We have a great night sky. Please encourage visitors to have those unique experiences that this park offers. You know, but you can come early in the morning, and you know, you get the best of the wildlife viewing and all those things if you really do get up early and ahead of the game. So I highly recommend that too. Let me show you some pictures of Trail Ridge Road, because you're not really able to get all the way up there today. You can drive as far as Rainbow Curve, which is just near tree line. It's about 11,000 feet or more. And to give you a sense of what's up there, I'll just pass these around, okay? So I know you're videoing, so let you video and then pass it along. So the neat thing about Trail Ridge Road is it gets to 3,700 meters roughly, and it's a high plateau up there. So unlike other places in Colorado, you go up and then you go down. It's not a matter of just being able to plow it, because in the winter, I don't know kilometers for this, but we get winds up to 155 miles an hour up there. And so we can get drifts. This is a picture of a 19-foot drift, but we can get drifts up to 22 feet up there. So in some places the snow blows free, and in other places is these huge deep drifts. So plowing has been a huge headache this year, and that's why Trail Ridge is not open fully right now all the way to Grand Lake.
But it's also the snowstorm that you guys had.
And we've been having a lot of snow and a lot of late snow. This is a picture of on top, or near the top. This is the Alpine Visitor Center. You guys can have these pictures. This was taken a few weeks ago. It probably still looks like that, okay? So, so yeah, it's not open right now, but to give you some typical dates, normally in a perfect year, Trail Ridge Road opens that Friday of Memorial weekend, which is usually the last weekend here in the U.S. In May. And then what happens is the road will open, close, open, close, open, close when we get into spring to about mid-June. Because if we get a storm and it's open for a week, but we get snow up high, rain down low, it might close for an hour or a couple of days. It just depends. And so then it's kind of open all summer. And then once we hit Labor Day weekend, which would be, let's see, early September, we wind up getting storms again. So it'll be open for 3 weeks, and then it'll be closed for an hour or closed for 2 weeks, just depending on the storm that we get. Typically, it's closed for the season in mid to late October. And then we have a really neat, cool other road, which is called the Old Fall River Road, which is a dirt road that also goes up to the Alpine Visitor Center, but it's one way uphill, so you have to come down Trail Ridge, and that road doesn't open till the 4th of July. Okay, and then closes typically in late September. So these offer some pretty magical views, and of course Bear Lake takes folks to some wheelchair accessible lakes and some beautiful hikes, and we do have a shuttle bus. So for those folks that missed the boat on the parking because they didn't get up early, they can catch a shuttle bus either in the park, but once that parking lot gets full, then they have to go to Estes Park and the town and catch a shuttle bus from there. Okay. I should clarify maybe the Estes Park versus Rocky Mountain National Park. We get a lot of confused visitors about all these different park words, because we have Estes Park, which is the town, Rocky Mountain National Park, which is a preserved area, very much like Banff or Jasper National Parks would be. And then we have many meadows called parks, like Moraine Park and Horseshoe Park. And that actually came from the French fur trappers, and they called these large meadows that were surrounded by mountains parks. But when they later became towns, they were named after some of the early settlers, such as Estes Park. So that's, you know, some of the confusion there of the different views of parks. So some things that people come to do here, we are a year-round park. It's just you can't drive up and over Trail Ridge Road during the wintertime. In the wintertime, folks can go snowshoeing, very, very popular. They can do backcountry skiing, not cross-country skiing on like skinny skis and trails, but actual being able to ski into the wilderness up and down on your own. But if folks are going to do that, they need to be very good skiers. This is not beginner terrain by any means, so they need to be moderate to a higher level of skiers. And if you are advising folks to come in the wintertime, I would also recommend that you encourage them, if they're flying in from Canada or on a group tour or something, that they rent a four-wheel drive vehicle. Because I see a lot of people come in the wintertime and they didn't think about it, because again, the weather's different in Denver than up here, and all of a sudden they're not able to access Bear Lake Road, which is where they wanted to go, because it's so icy and it's treacherous and, you know, not a good idea. So I do recommend that. The other thing visitors might want to bring if they're coming in the wintertime, they might want to rent snowshoes, but I highly recommend they buy or bring something called micro spikes. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, because a lot of our trails, if you're not going real far into the wilderness and it's not after a recent snowstorm, our visitors pack down our trails on the snow, and they're icy and they're steep. So having micro spikes may be more important than the flotation of snowshoes, depending on conditions. And so those can make or break a trip, and having some trekking poles as well. So what else do I need to tell you here? So what we have here, why do people come here? We have stupendous mountain scenery. I know you do it in Canada as well. But we also have access to the Alpine Tundra. So with Trail Ridge Road, if you think about most of North America and you want to get above tree line and see Alpine Tundra, the land above the trees where it's too cold, you are going to have to be quite the hiker or mountaineer to get to those places, and that's true in many areas in Canada as well, right? Here you can drive right up Trail Ridge Road and you have access to this amazing ecosystem. So a third of the park is tundra here. We have about 350 miles of trails. I'm going to put that in kilometers for you. It's 571 kilometers worth of trails here. Our trails in the winter, by the way, are not marked. You need to be able to navigate on your own using a map and a compass, but again, we're heavily used, so generally that's not too much of a problem for visitors. We have lots of wildlife viewing here, best rewarded for those that come early or late. And perhaps one of the most magical seasons to be here, but also the most demanding in terms of dealing with the crowds, is our Elk Rut. During the fall, the elk will come from the higher elevations to the lower elevations and show up in the meadows, and we'll have potentially several hundred elk in a meadow. Could be just a herd of 15, but it could be 100. It depends on where they're migrating from night to night. And this is more of an evening thing or super early in the morning. And it brings, I think, all of Denver and Fort Collins and Greeley, all these towns come up here in the evening. So actually we have bumper to bumper traffic during the fall in the evenings. So I would encourage any visitors coming here not to come Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the fall, but to come, you know, Monday through Thursday would be good, and just have dinner, you know, a picnic dinner in your car and experience the magic of it. Often the mountains are covered with snow and the elk are out and the fall colors are out, and you can see why it brings the crowds. It's a really special time of the year. So that's kind of what there is to see and do here. We have climbing as well. If you're a technical climber, we've got both mountaineering and rock climbing. And do you guys have any questions? I want to respect your time. I know you want to see the real thing. Yeah.
One. So Trail Ridge Road was the highest continuously paved
Highway
highway.
in North America. Yeah, not in the world.
Any other questions? We really appreciate your time.
Yeah,
and talking to
absolutely.
the
I'm
group.
sorry I can't go with you. I'd really love to. So, any other questions you might have? No? Okay. Well, I hope to be in Canada's parks late this summer, actually.
Oh, thank you.
Don't go to
Yeah.
Banff in the summer.
I won't go to Banff. I'm actually going to go to the more remote ones in British Columbia to the
good,
west
good.
and
Go to
in the
those.
Purcell
I might
Range.
jump in a Jasper
Oh no,
Banff in
been
the
there,
summer.
done that. Yeah, so I avoid the crowds
Hell.
too. So anyway, enjoy your time here, guys.
Thank you.
You betcha. All right, and Rachel has some information for you. Okay. Thank you.
Have a good one.